Okay, today we're climbing Arizona's high point, Humphrey's Peak, 12,633 feet. It's about a 10.1 mile round trip and 3,383 feet of elevation gain according to all trails. Subscribe to Slowboat Sailing, where we give you the stories of the most interesting sailors in the world and our outdoor adventures, including mountain climbing. 6 a.m. I think it got sunset about 4:30 or sunrise about 4:30. I didn't realize we got sunrise so quickly here. You can see this is the parking area behind me, and right behind me it says it's 4.8 miles to the summit of Humphreys Peak. I think we're about 9,300 feet of elevation, although I'll have to check what my watch says because it's to get an idea of the calibration. We camped in the Cocosino National Forest several miles away, but there might be. I don't think once you turn into the Snow Bowl, there might be a few camping spots, but I kind of doubt it. But there's camping spots all over Cocosino National Forest, which is more or less surrounds Flagstaff. So boondocking spots in the national forest that are free. It's a gorgeous day. Tomorrow there was supposed to be just a tinge of precipitation. I was worried that would lead to thunderstorms, and that's why we got here a day early. Me and Sophie back there. This is our first high point since Magazine Mountain back in July, I think, of 2023. So the parking lot is parking lot 1. There's a couple parking lots. So parking lot 1, you go to the end of that, and that's where the trail starts. I also saw somebody that had a travel trailer parked up there. Personally, I wouldn't drive my travel trailer up that road to the Snow Bowl just because it's a little steep and windy, but more power to the guy that did it. And it seems like he had a good night. He had his he had it out, so it looked like they were camping there. So that might be possible. GPS watch elevation is off by about 400 feet. So for backcountry permit people, the wilderness sign is about 0.3 miles from the start of the trail. After a mile, 0.9, we get the second sign, and it's pointing up for both Weatherford and the Humphreys Peak. Okay, so 1 mile in, we got about, or 1 hour in, we got about 1.4 miles and probably about 500 or more feet of elevation gain according to my watch. Just a beautiful day, walking in the aspens and pines. Okay, so now the trail looks a little bit icy here. I think we might put on our crampons soon. We'll try it for a little bit, but it looks kind of sketchy. Oh, I see. It goes this way. Harder to find. This is what the sign said, 2.5 miles. It's still kind of mixed at the moment, so like if you're doing it, you want steel. Okay, so it took us about 4 hours and 20 minutes, something like that, and like, I don't know, 4.2 miles to get to the summit ridge. Be sure you look at this sign. This is the only sign you'll see for a long time. But so there's a number of trails, and only one of them takes you to Humphreys Peak. But great views from the saddle now. And we just have to get through the false peaks. I think we have about 800 vertical feet to go once we get to the saddle, and probably another 0.8 miles. Okay, so we're at, one type of summit. You might call it a false summit, but the question is, we've actually been able to see that this was a lower summit for a long time. So would you call that a false summit? I don't think so, but this summit over here looks like we've been able to see that for a long time too, and it probably is a fall summit, but we shall see. I'm well over the 5 mile mark, but my watch says that we're only at 12,200 feet, so we got about 400 vertical feet to go. And it certainly looks like we have several hundred ahead of us. So we're pretty much at this fall summit, and you can see in the distance a summit. I believe that is the true summit according to people I've talked to on the way down. But the other thing is that my estimates of elevation are off now. For some reason, my GPS watch has reset the elevations, and I have no idea. Now it says that we're only 200 feet above the summit according to my estimates. So the calibration has changed, and we're at least 200 feet from the summit, but looks like more actually. Okay, me and Sophie are at the summit of Humphrey's Peak. Unfortunately, it's covered in flies, and so are we. So we'll probably get our snack down there. It's 1263 feet. I think it's like 1220 something when we just got up here. It's a lot longer than I thought. Picture. Okay, so this is 10th high point for me, state high point. I think 4th for Sophie, our first of 2024. Subscribe to Slow Boat Sailing. Okay, so it took like 11 hours and 20 minutes, and by my watch, it was 11.15 miles round trip. So that's about a mile more than what All Trails had, which is not unusual for the Garmin watch. I'd say we also got a little bit lost, so you probably could take off a quarter mile on the way up for us being lost. Okay, so there are a few notes. I would say June 5th, when we summited, there was snow, but totally not worth it bringing crampons, ice axe, or micro spikes. I just leave those down, save the weight. But boots would be helpful because there's maybe a bit of post holing if you don't want to get stuff in your shoes, but if you don't mind that so much, then you could do it in tennis shoes or trail runners, which I prefer to use trail runners personally on a long mountain hike if I can get away with it. And then what else? I think the other issue was at the summit there was a lot of flies. Okay, so when I mean a lot of flies, like 1,000 flies, that we were chased off the summit, and they were focused on the actually where the marker is that says 12,633 feet. So that was pretty disappointing. I'd never been at a summit quite that bad with the bugs, and I don't know if that's every year. Just a weird thing going on. There's something wrong at the summit there. There's a dead animal there. I didn't smell anything, but we were just covered in them, and probably most people won't enjoy that part of the experience. Subscribe to Slow Boat Sailing. We are doing the state high points.